Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. Podcasts everywhere, Facebook Live, YouTube, and talklawradio.com, where you can find information about the law, and you can search for issues that you're having. And if you want me to talk about something that's weighing on your mind, you can text me at 210-538-4770, 210-538-4770, or email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST at talklawradio.com, and I'll see if I can make a program around what you're confused about or some law that you want to change. This is the fourth segment of the show, and I like to talk about legacy.
And now, it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
I like to talk about legacy because Marquardt Law Firm focuses on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. Attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm also do probate and trust administration. That's the transfer of assets from the deceased person to the living beneficiaries. Or if there's no will or no trust, attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm can also help navigate that situation as well to find out what's the best way to get those assets transferred. And since we focus on those things, inheritance and legacy, I like to highlight the legacy of someone or talk about some legacy topic at the end of the show. And legacy is in the Bible. The blessing that Jacob gives to his sons is a sort of legacy. In Genesis chapter 49, verse 1, it says, "Then Jacob called his sons and said, 'Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall happen to you in days to come.'" That's part of his legacy, is trying to tell them what he expects of them. I don't think he was really trying to tell their future. He's not a fortune teller, but I think he was telling them what he expected them to accomplish. And when I meet with a new client, I ask them, what do you hope that your beneficiaries will achieve by receiving an inheritance from you? And some people say, I don't have any idea. I don't care. They can do what they want. Other people are a little more creative. They say, I hope that they'll get an education. I hope the grandchildren will get an education. I hope that they will do something good for humanity. Those are the ones I like the best. Another definition of legacy I found on Twitter by some coaches. Here's what they say. Good players leave behind memories, banners, and trophies. Great players leave behind a culture, values, and standards that create a sustainable advantage each year. That's by Mark Landers and Rob Rose. They write about the winning difference. Here's another one. The story you leave behind for others to tell. The impression you make on the next generation. Not comprised of money or material things, but of character, conviction, or compassion. Another definition says the word legacy, something handed down from one generation to the next. A retiring company president might leave a legacy of honesty and integrity. Legacy comes from the Latin verb legare or legare, to appoint by last will, send as an ambassador. Originally, the noun meant ambassador or envoy, but soon shifted to mean the money and property a person leaves behind in his will. In recent usage, political leaders are said to be concerned with their legacy, the historically significant achievements of their tenure in office. So I kind of like that definition too, but I would apply it to myself as an individual and say a dad, a man who was concerned with his legacy, the historically significant achievements of his tenure or his time on earth. I think about how will the kids remember me? Will they remember me as a guy that was always at work, or a guy that told people about Jesus on the radio? Time will tell. Passing the torch. So this is also in the same vein as legacy, passing something on in the business. You know, it could be president, vice president. It could be from majority shareholder to family member. It could be passing on the farm or the ranch or the vacation home. Or I've seen grandparents get all the tools and just pass them out to all the grandchildren. I've seen grandmothers do that as well. Or firearms. Once somebody's not healthy enough to go walking around in the wilderness looking for animals to harvest, we call that God's grocery store. They might pass on their firearms and let the next generation enjoy them if they're not being used. So today I want to talk about Rupert Murdoch, the majority shareholder of Fox. He's passing down his authority as a leader of that organization to his son, Lachlan, Lachlan, Murdoch. Something that I found interesting about Rupert Murdoch is he was married 4 times. And so I found an article by the Associated Press that shows his family tree. His first marriage to Patricia Booker resulted in 1 child, Prudence Murdoch. I don't think that they're involved anymore. Second marriage was Anna Maria Torv, and that marriage resulted in these 3 children, Elizabeth, Lachlan, and James. Then Rupert was married to Wendy Ding. That marriage resulted in 2 children, Grace and Chloe. And then the most recent marriage is with Jerry Hall. I don't think there's any children of that marriage. So Rupert is passing down the business to Lachlan, and I think that Lachlan is going to be in the news because everybody's going to be scrutinizing how he's running the business after his dad is giving it to him. I think the article said that Rupert was 92 years old, and so he's making a lifetime appointment or transfer. I don't know if he's passing down his stock or ownership in the company, or whether he's simply naming his son to be the head of it to make the business decisions. So I'll have to do some more research on that, unless you know, and then you can call in right now and tell me. You can call 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867, and tell me what you know about Rupert Murdoch and Fox and the transition of power. This article says that Rupert Murdoch is stepping down in favor of his son Lachlan. And there's a handful of good TV shows about succession going on that I find to be very interesting. I won't talk about them right now because I'm running out of time. But this is all about legacy. Everybody's going to scrutinize this decision whether it was good for him to hand over the reins to his son. Is he the most qualified one, or is this just a nepotism, where you name a relative and that's the only reason that they get to be in that position of power and authority and influence and possibly, potentially, probably lots of money at stake as well. If you're a business owner, do you think of your children as being ready to take over at a moment's notice? I represent lots of businesses, and I see business owners every year talk about whether or not their children are going to take over the family business someday. I've helped business owners structure transactions where they either give away the business to their children or they sell the business to their children. I have a very happy and satisfied client. That's how he financed his retirement, was by selling his child the business, and so he was able to get something like a pension by doing that. Of course, we use fair market value because there's tax issues involved and so forth. But if you have questions about what you're going to do with your business, you definitely need to get a business attorney involved or an estate planning attorney involved, or both, because there's issues that cross over. If you come to my office, you'll see I have this diagram with 4 circles that shows how business law, estate law, elder law, and administrative law all influence and affect each other in one way or another. And so I made it my business to get educated and know something about each one of those practice areas and how they all work together and how they influence each other. It's good for you to know what's going to happen or try to plan for what's going to happen before it actually happens. Let's imagine if Rupert Murdoch had just died, there would have been a vacuum. People would have been in chaos wondering what would happen next. If you're a business owner, you don't want that to happen to your employees, your colleagues. You don't want that to happen to your family. If you do nothing, if you procrastinate, it will result in chaos. If you do some planning, even if it doesn't work out exactly the way that you had imagined because other people react in ways that you didn't expect, it's going to be better that your ideas were on paper, that you wrote something down that was legally enforceable. This is how you make things better for your family. I've got to go. I enjoyed my time with you today. I'll talk to you later.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.